The story takes place in a faraway land in the nation of Guitarist, where humans and demons coexist calmly until the day the Demon King abducts the Princess Chalice, giving humans the choice to get her back if they give their land to the demons. However, the human hero, Donner, promises to retrieve the princess, not fearing all the difficulties that await for him ahead. Meanwhile, in the demon castle, the princess rests in her cell. She's not upset about being in prison, as she has food and doesn't have the responsibility of her status there, but she hasn't been able to get some proper sleep thanks to the demons that roam free all the time. She starts punching her pillow and then comes to the conclusion that it might be due to the cheap pillow. While she's wondering what could she use as a good pillow, two teddy demons come to bring her food and she considers killing them to use them, but ends up brushing them, choosing to use the fur they shed to make her pillow. The two demons, driven by the pleasure of being brushed, exchange the key to her cell for more brushes, so the princess is quickly roaming free around the castle. Tricking the lousy demons, she's able to steal some items, and soon enough she's back in her cell, sewing the perfect sleeping pillow. Then all of her fatigue hits at once and she falls asleep. The Demon King hears what has happened and upset because the girl doesn't seem to be afraid of her fate, goes to talk to her, but is unable to wake her up. Not because he tried, but because of how pleased she looks fall asleep. So he leaves, leaving the demons the chore to get the key back. Meanwhile, at Guitarist, 5 days have gone by without the princess or news from the hero, so the elderly council and maids are falling into despair. Back at the demon castle, Chalice wakes up, noticing in the mirror next to her that she has bed sheet marks on her face and a mark of her crown in her forehead. She knows she shouldn't sleep with it on, but needs something to hold her bangs with, so she decides to make a headband with the scraps of the pillow, but it has to be cute, so she needs a special tool. Then the scissor sorcerer demon comes to bring her food, but some of his scissors fall from his arm. Seeing that it's the tool she needs, she gladly exchanges her crown for some and makes herself a crown headband. Now she needs to fix the bedsheet issue, as she thinks that she got the marks because the sheets are cheap. Then she sees a reindeer demon wearing a silky cloak and decides to use that one as sheets. Using the brush to call the teddy demons, they bring her the keys, and with the pair of large scissors the previous demon gave her, she goes around the castle cutting everyone's cloaks and capes. When she finds the reindeer, she realizes that the cloth itself is alive, but still cuts the head and leaves with the material to use as sheet. Once her bed is all done, she launches herself into it and quickly falls asleep. On the other hand, the king demon is informed about the girl's new escape and goes to talk to her again, but once again finds her asleep and needs to wait to talk to her. Back at Guitarist, the hero comes back with news they were stopped by the demons near the Wind Fortress, so they need new men to head back quickly. At the castle, the princess encounters a new difficulty. The demons snore too loud for her. So calling the teddy demons again, she breaks free, ready to find a new place to sleep in. She ends up in the treasury room and starts looking on the chest for something to make a comfortable bed, but one chest falls off, revealing a shield with wind attached to it. She doesn't pay it any attention, but when she stumbles with a rock, she falls into the wind and realizes it could make a good bed for her. The rock turns out to be a demon, but she doesn't hesitate to use it under her cloth to break the shield and separate it from the wind, as it'd be too heavy to carry it around. Meanwhile, really close by, the Demon King and another demon talk about the shield and how it's a unique piece, very important for their fight against the hero that Chalice barely remembers. So when she realizes that what she broke is very important, she hides it within a chest and goes to look for a proper place to sleep. She's walking around and finds a place filled with lava, but she keeps getting deeper into it. Some demons see her and try to warn her, but she slips with a slime demon and falls into the lava. The demons call the demon cleric and he brings her back to life, though much to her dislike, as though she found the perfect bed. She's unpleased when she realizes that she's in a coffin, but after seeing the horns of the cleric, she's determined to fix her new bed of its sharp edges. She uses the horns still attached to the head as sandpaper and then uses the slime demon, which appeared next to her because they died together, as wax for the wood. Once her bed is made with all of her new sleeping items, she closes the coffin and falls asleep. The cleric orders the demons to take her back to her room, and the king tries to speak to her again, but it's a lost battle. The hero and his team continue with their journey in the Hell Abyss Labyrinth when they are faced by the Demon King, who mocks them for being still far away from his castle and leaves promptly. Meanwhile, at the castle, the princess wakes up with a bug bite in her wrist due to the open windows all around the cell. So remembering the mosquito nest she had back at home, she decides to make a new one. Then another cloth demon appears, seeking revenge for his fallen friend. But this one is far larger, which is perfect for the princess' plan, so she cuts out the head without remorse. Now looking where to hang it from, she sees one of the towers, which is the nest for the first phoenix eggs in centuries, and decides that it'd be a good place to hang it. While thinking about how to climb Wu there, a stamped demon cat comes climbing on the ceiling to get her dirty dishes, and tricking him about not being allowed to use shoes there, she steals Hit's sticky shoes and starts climbing the tower. Two demons who are cleaning the roofs see her and head to the king, who thinks that she's trying to steal the eggs to give them to the hero, as phoenix eggs are excellent health items, so he sends the guards after her. The guards fly at full speed on their dragons, but arrive right when she finishes to tie the rope, starting to argue as the information of her stealing was incorrect, but now the princess has her luxurious net on her bed. Glad to have her little world under the net, the princess falls asleep again. Meanwhile, the hero and his group make it out of the labyrinth, but they are quickly faced by the boss, a sand dragon. Although Donner wants to fight, his group is wounded and needs to go back to the castle, as humans are fragile and often avoid confrontation with demons to survive. Back in the demon castle, a demon council is gathered to talk about the newly brewed sleeping potion, but Cialis interrupts to get the potion, although she's not allowed to get away with her plan, as she wanted to test if its effects would have improvement on sleeping quality. So now she's decided to find an item that does. With the usual help of the teddies, she gets out of her cell while being observed by a demon that keeps count of all the violations to the demon castle code she's been doing. She quickly finds a pit of fluffy fungi and decides to toss herself there to use them as a mattress, but the fungi turns out to be poisonous and she quickly. After bringing her back, the demon clerk reports to his king. The princess has been quite often during the week, even trying to use a feral thunder dragon to relieve her back pain. Both demons are tired, with the clerk trying to make her value her life and the king really considering that he kidnapped an idiot. Decides to take a sleeping potion from the item storage. She goes and disguises herself with one of the capes she cut before, but although the guard was ready to give her the potion, the demon that has been following her, the Great Red Siberian, stops them. Now he has a personal affair with the girl, as the cape she's using is from one of his kind. He, who is very passionate about the rules, takes her back to her cell, ready to inspection it. He's taken back by all of the things she has stolen, even a bit afraid by the amount of Ghost Shroud's bodies she uses as sheets, but allows her to keep one of the teddies as a pet. However, he quickly takes back everything else. He starts lecturing her, even grabbing her when she falls asleep, and start reading the demon castle code to her. But the girl considers that the fur of his chest is a good bed. It's nostalgic to her. As she considers the lecture a lullaby, so as he ends up falling asleep. Later, the king wanders by the cell and Great tells him that he's considering cutting his fur as a punishment to the princess, but the king is against it, still bothered by how the princess sleeps so calmly in his castle. Grimoires are books which contain valuable information that, in exchange of the human sanity, gives away lots of magic, so demons realized these were a threat and sealed them in the castle. However, the princess realized that those were mostly complicated books which will allow her to sleep comfortably if she reads them at bedtime. Therefore, she goes to the library, and although there are demons guarding, it consider that as only the king and chosen humans can unseal them, it's not a really important task. Yet the princess is comfortably reading those at the library, but it's not helping her sleep, just draining her energy. She realizes that maybe more advanced grimoires are going to do the trick, but as she can't move, she starts slowly rolling down the stairs. One of the Garads is worried that the princess could be one of those special humans, but the other eases him, saying that to get to the forbidden grimoire, one should turn on all the switches on the stairs, break all the seals, and make all the statues on the entrance face each other, but the princess could never. However, in her slow rolling, a book comes in her way and she slips, starting to gain speed and realizing all of those tasks. She stands before the forbidden grimoire, and by its looks, she is sure she'll be soon asleep with that one. So she opens it, and the spirit of the grimoire, Al-Azif, comes out of it. The excited boy explains to her that she could use his knowledge to destroy the demons, but she's not interested on it and starts treating him like a maid. Still wanting to be he tells her that he can teach her magic that can incapacitate the castle, which actually gets her eye, as she wants to Lear's sleep magic. Meanwhile, Great and the cleric go to the king to present him with a new security system, which are basically eye demons that work like Kamaras. Back with the princess, now that she's learned the spell, Alazif wants to warn her about the great MP energy that it uses, but the girl rushes in, setting the whole castle under the sleeping spell. Yet she remains awake and the boy tells her to escape, but she thinks that it's unfair that everyone gets to sleep except for her. So she uses one of the grimoires as a pillow, and the castle remains quiet for 3 days. She asks for the spirit to give her a medicine book, and she comes across the pressure points, and although all have been effective, there's one in her back that she can't reach. She asks Teddy for help, but his soft paws are of no use, so she goes to get someone else to do it. She comes across a group of monsters, but remembers that Great told her that he'll inspect her room again if she makes another fuzz over sleeping. So she tries to ask them for help without giving herself away. However, the wording comes out unfortunate, and the demons are shocked by the indecorous request of the princess, choosing to run away from her instead. Though she notices the claws in their fingers, so she simply thinks that they are holding back and goes to the clerk for help. She asks for the same again in the same indecorous way, shocking the clerk and making him faint. Upset with the outcome of her journey, she decides that the next demon with a bit of spine that she encounters will be dragged to her cell and will help her with her problem, with such luck that she stumbles across the Demon King. He introduces himself as Twilight, and seeing that he has normal hands, the girl proceeds with her plan. He's surprised by her actions and considers them an invitation thanks to a book he read before. However, the girl shows him the picture and asks to push the points, and he jumps for it. but before he could grab her and go further, she falls asleep. Every demon she's asked for help is looking at him with disapproval, but realizing what was it all for they simply tuck her in. Sometime later, she realizes that her internal clock has been messed up by the lack of sunlight, as the castle and its surroundings are immersed in endless night. Yet she sees a shining spot in the forest and decides to go look for it. So she won't wake up to something like sunlight. Although the demons think that she wouldn't make it outside the castle, she reaches the forest safely, and the alarmed shout. They use the cameras to see that she's getting deeper into the forest, which upsets the king as he has hid his ultimate weapon there, a shining sword. So thinking she's stealing it to give it to the hero, all the demons go after her, but she's calmly going back to the castle. Sneaking, they see her tying the sword to the window and covering with her sheets, so she can flutter them when she wakes up and be bathed in sunlight. Odd enough, no one stops her. At home, Chalice would take baths with 10 maids waiting for her. So once she got to the demon castle, she was hoping to fulfill her dream of falling asleep in a bathtub, but the one she has there is way too small. Upset about it, she ends up breaking it and gets in her way to get a decent-sized tub. First, using the castle communication pipe, she takes the hot water out of the communitary baths, scaring tons of naked demons in the way as the water in her room is not as hot as she'd like. Now in need of a tub, she hears Great scolding a dragon about using fire next to Rocket Turtle, a gigantic demon turtle that when having her tail lit, it explodes like a rocket. Seeing her opportunity, she grabs with her scissors one of the flames of the dragon and lits the demon on, exploding the tower but leaving the shell, so she can use it as a tub. After some healing potion in and the humming heat of the water, the princess can calmly fall asleep, thinking that the freedom she has now is amazing. The summer arrives at the castle, and that plus the flowing magma from the source of it makes a terrible environment, so much that the princess hasn't been able to sleep due to the heat. She's hoping to get something cold to eat, but the scissor sorcerer explains to her that they can't use any ice because the ice demons get on a strike during this time of the year, even organizing a march to make their rights known, and every year, this is led by the ice golem. Upon hearing that there are ice demons and an ice section in the castle, the girl armed with her scissors and pillow goes to look for an armor, as she wants ice but doesn't want it frozen. She comes across a demon made of rubber, and after making sure she's hollow inside, she cuts through and uses his body as an armor. When she gets to the ice section, her armor starts to freeze and the demons mistake her for the ice golem. Although she wants to clarify the issue after hearing that they'll do whatever she asks, she starts giving the order of making an igloo in her room and to take orders from the princess. Some demons are confused about her orders, but when other demons clarify them with what they suppose, she plays along. Then the ice golem arrives, but before anyone can see him, she hits him with her frozen pillow and uses his body to make the igloo, although it got confiscated by Grape. Sometime after, being jealous of a little demon sleeping on her teddy's belly, she goes to the treasure to get an item to shrink herself, but the magical object just turned her into a little kid. Although it's not what she wanted, she thinks she can work with it, and when tries to go back to her room, she realizes that her small body can't take her back. Then she sees Minotaur and Porcupine Demon on his shoulders changing a light and decides to try to climb it, but hurts with his spines, and now the two demons have to take her back. However, when the Porcupine holds her, he realizes that he's never held a little kid before, and quickly all the demons want to try as well. As she only wants to go back to her cell and is getting annoyed at attention, she plucks the spines of the demons, attacking the rest of them. But when the king, the clerk, and Great arrive at the scene, she realizes that her attacks won't be effective, so she resigns to be held by the demons. She's on the clerk's arms when she starts drifting away on her sleep. Although it wasn't what she wanted, the childlike deep sleep seemed to be enough for her. With the war getting rough after the princess abduction, the demon king is forced to bring back the female unit, and the demons of the castle are happy, thinking that the girl will finally have someone to talk to. But to no one's surprise, the girl is completely indifferent and prefers to find a good way to sleep that night, but is interrupted by a girl demon that wanted a place that didn't reek like male and ended up wandering by herself. The demon girl introduces herself as and tries to engage conversation. The princess ignores her as much as she can, even avoiding to make girl talk by staking teddies in between the bars of her cell. Then the demon king appears and shoves Harpy inside of the cell to entertain the princess, but the girl is not having it and uses her cat paws to scratch her. She's about to leave her room to find something to make a new blanket with, but the demon girl stops her, asking her to be her friend, as she's always wanted to have friends to make girl talk and have sleepovers like normal human girls. However, it's not until Chalice sees her wings and considers the feathers good for a new blanket that she decides to befriend her, as ripping the wings off would ruin the materials. The princess tells her that they are going to have a pajama party, but in the end she uses her wings as a blanket, disappointing the girl. In the middle of the night, both girls fall from the bed, and although it due to the princess' bad posture, she asks for the demon girl about good things to use as a bed. But the girl, thinking like a bird, gives bad advices for a human. Then Harpy thinks about the horn in the top of the castle that was modified with magic so it'd be lighter, because it became very popular between winged demons. So the princess manipulates her with her desperation to have friends to take her there, exhausting the poor demon legs. Despite how happy she was at first, when the princess falls slightly asleep in the horn, the girl realizes that she doesn't even consider her friends and was just using her. But every other flies away when the princess starts cutting the horn, which is basically a cushion to make the perfect mattress. Harpy tries to stop her, but is once again manipulated with friendship and forced to take the couch down to her cell. Both girls sleep comfortable, but the horn breaks overnight. Yet the next day, when the demon girl walks by asking if she wants to take a nap, Salus retrieves the mattress to Twilight. Sometime later, the hero finally defeats the Sand Dragon, and the Demon Council is having a meeting to decide who's attacking next, but are interrupted by Salus blowing a horn. Great asks for her to stop, but the girl is terribly bored, as during days that she's not active, she can't sleep well. However, the Siberian doesn't care and makes her leave, which she does sadly, upsetting the demons. Then Elron, a female plant demon, feels petty for her, as after all, she was abducted and forced to live in the castle. Feeling attacked, Twilight shares the camera they have on her, so the demon girl can see how fierce she is and back on her words. Although she thinks nothing would change her mind, things change fast when the princess starts attacking her brother. A log that she notices has decreased its size since she last saw him, just to make a long bed. The princess quickly uses one part of her scissors to chop down the trunk, and the demon girl still tries to justify it. But everything goes down when in the end the princess starts hollowing the trunk. Although Elron tries to see the positive side, thinking that if she uses all of the wood it'd be at least eco-friendly, the girl still surprises her by ditching most of the wood and just using a part, which ends up with the demon girl covering her eyes with her hair to justify the girl. Although it's undeniable that the princess is fierce and not someone to pity, all the demons know that she's still a captive girl. While the hero keeps advancing in his task and faces terrible enemies, the princess is faced with the terrible decision of doing laundry, as she spilled her drink in the blanket and she needs it to have a good sleep. Back in the council room, the king and the other 10 guardians of the castle are having a meeting. They need to find a way to bring the hero safe and sound to the castle so the king can defeat him. But the hero has terrible sense of location and keeps getting lost. Then Elron mentions an item in their vault that could help, the Fountain of Purity, a fountain which clean water can heal wounds, but if its water gets dirty, loses its properties. That's why it's guarded by a bubble demon. Same fountain that Salus finds and decides to clean her blanket in, and same demons she uses to scrub it. The king also remembers that there's a mini tornado bomb that might help with their plan, but unfortunately for him, the princess has already found it and is using it like a washing machine. Then one of the 10 guards, Professor Gerbold, interrupts to inform that he's already made an item to fix the problem. A magnetic item to control the hero's compass. Item that the princess considers is a good drying rack. He also mentions that he also made an electric demon to guide him into a huge robot made to be weak to light, the hero's element, to boost the boy's confidence. Yet he warns them that they should never stick the magnet into the robot's core or it would malfunction. Meanwhile, the princess has found the robot, and when she sees the hole in its chest, she stabs it with a magnet to hang her blanket. The robot starts malfunctioning and starts spinning at max speed, generating heat and letting the princess blanket incredibly soft and warm. When the demons enter the room to take a look at it, they find the scraps of the robot and the princess sleeping in the middle. Season changes and the autumnal breeze comes with a new problem. The princess needs to keep her belly warm. She thinks that she has a good item for it, but she left her woolen undies at home before being abducted. So following her motto, she decides to make some. Then 2 demons enter her cell and ask what's she doing, but before she can answer, she remembers that when she was a child, she'd show everyone her woolen undies because she thought they were cute. But her mother, the queen, scolded her, saying that even saying the word is not proper for the princess. So back to the real world, the girl tries to sign it to the demons to then lead to a lonely place where she can work, but the miscommunication makes the demons think that she's threatening them. While she runs to find a good place, she comes across the king, the cleric, and Gerbold, who is showing the other his new robot. In her escape to a safe place, she comes across 2 Siberians who ask her what she's doing, and she tries to communicate it with Morse code, but they don't understand her and she doesn't stay to explain. Luckily for them, Maoujou is there to translate, saying that she's communicating with the cosmos. She then comes across the leader of the Ghost Shrouds, who's ready to get his revenge today, but the girl cuts him again, thinking that the cloth could be useful for little ribbons. The demon asks her what is she doing now, and she tries to explain with a drawn, but the demons only see a severed Ghost Shroud head, so they are panicking. All the demons go to complain with Great with the scraps of story they have and come to the conclusion that the girl is planning to destroy the castle, so they go looking for the king to tell him, but he's in the new robot to check it out. Meanwhile, the princess is under the cloth that covers the demon to knit her undies calmly. Once she's done, she heads back to her room, but accidentally pulls the cloth and the demons are faced with the robot that looks like her. So they run away, thinking that this is the weapon. When the demons manage to get hold of the king, he goes to check on the princess, but find her asleep and all of her woolen animal is on the floor. When she wakes up later, she starts remembering her mother's special way of falling asleep, but can't remember it entirely. Then she finds Twiglight falling to the floor exhausted as the hero about lost once again and he needs to guide him, but the lack of sleep has gotten to him. She considers ending him, but Teddy stops her, explaining that he's sleep deprived. He mumbles something about the castle crumbling if he dies and she can't afford her bed being destroyed, so she tries to get him to sleep. She tries with lullabies and reading, but soon goes with more life-threatening meaning like tossing him from the horn of the castle. Although she's reckless, the man considers that maybe she's doing her best, but she explains that she isn't using conventional means. Twilight considers returning her, but mumbles that his father won't have done it that way, which makes Sia have a revelation. She asks if his father ever put him to sleep, and after being confirmed, she reaches to caress his head, patting it softly and realizing that putting a kid to sleep is the same for humans and demons. Besides, her mother was right, the best way to fall asleep is next to someone you put to sleep. The princess is captured during her sleep once again, but this time, it wasn't Twilight's doing. When he goes to see her cell, the cleric tells him that he can't find her in the proximities of the castle, and they find a letter confirming her abduction. Meanwhile, Shea wakes up in the former demon castle, which now is in ruins, and a demon called Hayes stands before her. He explains that she'll be imprisoned there and won't be able to set foot outside again. But the girl isn't worried about it. She knows the only thing she can do now is sleeping. Yet the room is a disaster and her pillow got degraded, so she now has to make a new one again. Then 3 little dog demons, the Cerberus brothers, appear to mock her. But with a pom-pom of her dress, she blows the cell and catches them, asking for materials for her pillow. The cleric connects the king with the former demon castle and hazed, taunts him to come get his princess back, but doesn't realize the girl touching the fabric of his cape. The council starts yelling when she starts pulling, but the demon still doesn't notice the girl's presence. When she's about to torn it all, it gets stuck and Elrond gets the idea to mislead Hayes, so the girl is finally able to pull the entire fur and coat. However, the girl is now safe and Ted Demon is left to the council's amusement. The night passes and the princess is bored. Her room is a dump and she has nothing to do, so she decides to make a bed for proper rest. Yet her way is full of traps, which upsets her, thinking that even demons would have a hard time living there. While walking through a lava floor, she comes across a demon peacefully sleeping. She wants to know how he's so calm, but doesn't want to wake him up. However, she sees a signal saying that he should be awakened when the bells ring and she takes her chance. The man introduces himself as Hypnos, but he can't make people sleep. Rather, he needs 20 daily hours to even function, which makes Sia think that he's a professional sleeper and asks for him to share his secrets, calling him master. So as a thank you for waking him up, he shows her an electrified floor that could be used as a bed if the tiles are flipped, as the fluffiness under then is used as a conductor. Localizing the battery, the girl quickly smashes it, activating the traps that she avoids flawlessly, even acquiring tools to flip the tiles. Hypnos is speechless, but proud. Meanwhile, at the demon castle, the rumor of the princess abduction spreads and the council is having more pressure to bring her back, so they start planning her rescue, considering all of her needs and bringing everything to make her feel comfortable. Although they are worried about her, she's in her element, making a movable bed so the fireballs won't catch her, making Hypnos prouder by the second. Soon after, the demons reach the former demon castle, but to Hades' surprise, they are running around calling for Sia, offering candy, comforters, and teddies, but they can't find her. Meanwhile, she is woken up in a room full of fur coats, as she was looking for a spontaneous sports where to sleep like her master advised her. She wanders into the throne room where Hades is eating the dog demons as they are afraid of Great, but he reminds them of the items he got them, items that the princess is using to make a neck pillow. She then comes across to what seems to be a flying machine, and Twilight and the council enter the throne room. The fight is about to start, but before both demons could reach each other, they see Sia flying away with the machine, so the council follows her, putting the fight on hold for the moment. Although they are all relieved that the girl is back, they are worried that she came on her own will because it was a demon who got her this time, wondering what would happen if it was the hero. Some time has passed and now the hero's team has come back to the right path, so Kisho tries a spell that using the peace aura of the gems in the princess crown would help them get right at her. At the castle, Scissor Sorcerer is watching Sia sleep calmly when the crown that she gave him starts shitting and a small portal appears on the girl's head. Donner sticks his hand in, but starts pocking the girl's head, not knowing what it is. This makes the girl frown and the peace aura is weakened, so they close the portal and the demon realizes that he should report it. With the hero reaching the ancient volcano, the council sneds one of the boss of said place, to face him, so they start a send-off party, but the princess interrupts them. They try to get her out, but she wants to share her dream because she had a nightmare and she's heard that if you share those, you feel better. So she tells them that her nightmare was a memory of her childhood friend as Wetsit because she doesn't remember his name. She tells them that he once her with thorns of a bouquet of roses, although it seems that he had only fell and ate a bee that was in it because he was apnicking, to then tell her what it tasted like. Another time, he took her for a stroll in the woods, but thanks to his terrible location sense, they got lost. He dared her to race and she kept bumping into him in traps, but she didn't realize it was him. So when she got to the top, she only found a tombstone. So she went back and forgot about him for a year. But the kid got back, and as she didn't remember him, she called the guards. Although the demons feel pity for him, she tells them that the last part of her dream was a memory of her father, telling her that he was her fiancé, and then she leaves, leaving the demons curious and worried. She now feels better about her dream, but also curious about dreaming of her past. Meanwhile, the cleric stays longer at the council room, wondering who could that boy be, and upon remembering all of the boy's traits, he comes to the conclusion that Wetsit is Donner, so he makes sure to tell Fire Venom Dragon to annihilate him at the volcano. While the battle at the volcano breaks loose, the princess now faces a terrible illness. She has a cavity. So the demons take her to the cursed dentist, but Sia is reckless and doesn't let the poor man help her, as she's afraid of getting defiled, even having to get more doctors in the room to be able to handle her. Soon, Great and Twilight come explaining that there are no registers in the books to explain why she's shy about her mouth, so they wonder if she's hitting a life-threatening affliction, and the rumor spreads like a virus around the castle. The whole castle is there to watch the procedure, but the princess only allows Teddy to look inside, so they'll have to proceed like that, but the cursed dentist is losing it quickly. After 8 long hours, the girl is finally healed, but won't tell her secret, which is that she just has a complex about her slightly shorter from average tongue. 3 days later, Fire Venom Dragon comes back. His powers have been sealed, and the rest of the council complains about his defeat, as they gave him various items to help. But he explains the items got switched, so he proceeds to explain. The more he explains, the more they find out that it was their fault that he was defeated, but still blame the princess. Except for Poseidon, he knows something about them smells fishy. However, after their confirmation, the defeated guard wants to tell off the princess, who's calmly sleeping in her cell, but all of them stop him, not wanting the girl to suffer the punishment for something she didn't do. Meanwhile, the hero's party advances slowly but surely, and Kisho tries the spell again, but it doesn't work. Some days later, the princess sees on the TV waterbed advertising, so she uses the black crystal to try and ship one. But when they tell her that the demon castle is not within their delivery reach, she breaks the crystal and walks away. So now the council is trying to find a way to get her to behave like a hostage without encourage her to get better abilities, so they decide to ignore her. The new order spreads, and when she goes down to get items to make her own waterbed, all the demons are trying their best not to pay her any attention. She makes it to the item storage, which is being guarded by Great, and following the plan, he tries to ignore her. But the girl quickly ties a rope to the collar in his neck and starts pulling. The Siberian tries to stop her, but makes her fall and starts following her out for guilt. The cleric finds them and asks what's going on, but trying to ignore the girl in the process. Though when he sees that she has a scrapped knee, he leans to ask what happened to her and is trapped like the dog. They are following the girl when they come across Twilight, who tries to teach them how to ignore her properly. But when the girl asks him a question, he leans into her, and she traps him as well. They are all following her resign when Alron interrupts, upset about them not following the plan, and cuts the ropes. Meanwhile, Seiya notices her vines and thinks they'd be useful, but starts yawning for the long trip. However, when she hears that they've been ignoring her, she turns around with the tears of the yawning in her eyes, making all of them feel guilty. So they end up helping her out of guilt, and she finally has her waterbed. Now the council needs to find another way to make her more hostage-like, so they call Hades for auctions, and he tells them that they need to make her work, so she won't have free time to mess around. Seeming like a good option, they give her paperwork for a month, and Seiya takes it very seriously. Changing her usual pajamas for a working attire, she goes to the dining hall to work, as she doesn't want to feel lonely. To the demon's surprise, she worked very quickly. She might even be able to finish it in one day, as it's nothing compared to her usual amount of work back home. But when the demons check it, she's absolutely doing homework. After seeing her work recklessly for a while and learning about her life at home, the demons feel bad for her and decide to help her with her research work, which makes her very happy. But they didn't count that her research topic would be which demon skin is more comfortable to sleep. At the end of the day, she delivers her work and finally falls asleep, content about doing some work once in a while. However, when she wakes up, she realizes that all the work they gave her was actually just homework, so she wonders what age do they think she is. Meanwhile, at the council, Ted realized that giving more and more work to the girl will eventually become a bother for them, so they give up on that plan. Suddenly, Great is informed that some human bandits were captured in the forest, and Twilight sees a great opportunity there, so he orders that they are brought to the castle and placed in the dungeons. That way they can teach the princess how to behave like a proper hostage. They take her there, and after realizing that her accommodations and activities are not the proper ones for a hostage, she tries to do her best to do what they are asking for, even getting into an empty cell willingly. They are apparently proud of her, but when Tay talked to her, she starts screaming in fake fear, hurting the demons' feelings. They are so used to her that they became fond of her, so they end up asking for her to stop. Content with being fine in the way she behaves, she goes back to her cell, happy to be her normal hostage princess once again. However, Hades checks up on the matter and is told that now she behaves like a scared hostage only when she wants to get away with something, which is definitely not working. That night, she reflects upon the fact that the demons are kind to her, even when she doesn't fake, which makes her wonder, why do even demons and humans fight? Sometime after, Sia sees something she wants to sleep on and has decided to get it, not wanting to resign and get a copy. But she needs to go to the human realm for it. So she changes into a more sporty outfit and starts her journey out of the castle. The alarms are quickly raised and the demons go to report to the king, but he's calm and she usually comes back and doesn't go beyond the castle borders. However, upon finding a letter that explains she'll be off to the human ward and seeing the girl going beyond her usual limit and blowing the new wards of the castle, Twilight sends everyone to look for her. They are crossing the forest when Poseidon spots her and appears in front of her, but the girl dodges him and he seems to take some damage. It turns out that she complimented his move and he was out of game due to the shame. She keeps dodging obstacles and the king quickly gets tired of it. So while she sails the poison swamp, he places a special trap at the end of it. All the demons don't think that his bed trap would work, but they underestimate the girl's limits and are flabbergasted when she falls for it. Once back to the castle, she informs that she wanted a massaging sleeping pillow that she could only get in the human realm, so she was planning to come back with gifts for everyone. Twilight still doesn't fall for her excuse and tells her that the nearest town was too far away and if someone was to see her, they'll send her back home. So the girl resolves that he can come with her to control that she comes back. He's not sure about it as humans will react badly if they see that they are demons, but the girl explains that it should be up because she knows they are good people. And with that, she had them falling for the plan. The next day, Great Twilight, the cleric, and Sia are at the outside of Endopolis, the nearest town to the demon castle. The three demons are dressed up, but not enough to hide their traits, so the girl is quick to hang, practicing for Halloween signs on their backs to deceive humans. They make their way in and she's quickly treating the matter like a hangout, but the other three are way too nervous as the king visits the human realm once in a while and the other two have never. Soon they hear someone announcing a deluxe version of the pillow the girl wants, and of course she now wants that one. So they have to form on the endless line, even getting a ticket for it, as they have a 3 hours waiting. As time goes by, they start to notice that the king is starting to get away from them, as it turns out that he got a ticket for another line. So now the two newbies are in charge of buying with the girl. This would be awkward if they ever had contact with humans' customs and if the girl wasn't falling asleep, as she was supposed to get the pillow with her own money that she stole from the vault. When their time to buy finally arrives, the girl has fallen asleep and they don't want to go on her wallet. They end up asking Twilight for help and they spend all of their money, not having enough to even get in an inn. As night falls, they need a place to rest before they can warp back in the castle, and while they are talking about it, the fireworks spectacle starts. Sia is quickly distracted by it and pulls the king's sleeve as his ticket was a winner for a VIP sport to watch the show. Tea are promptly taken there and the girl offers them drinks so they can relax. They comply and sit at the table, enjoying the fireworks, although the girl's plan was to sleep with her pillow under the fireworks. However, she can't sleep for obvious reasons and decides to tell them that the signs that appear on the sky are mostly threats to demons, which upsets the men in front of her. She tries to fix it by saying that they could make their own signs, but the king knows it wouldn't help. Humans claim that the world was more peaceful when the demons withdrawn, but for their peace, they were forced to live in the underworld. Unless a representative of each side would sit down to settle the matter straight, the problems would remain. Sia doesn't say anything and they start worrying that she might want to stay now that she had a bite of her old life, but she scribbles a jinning demon sign to cheer them up and tells them that they should go home. After a long journey through the woods, they are finally able to make it home. So sometime after, Tay come to check on the girl and the pillow, just to find all the teddies lining up to take their time with it. And after all, she did manage to bring gifts for everyone. So Elron and Poseidon come to thank her. Some days after, Twilight is wandering in front of the girl's cell when he sees a paper with one of the grinning Doman signs scribbled on it and sees all the teddies lining up to get one. Then Great comes to tell him that the hero is close to Tenu area, but that's yet in construction, so he goes to check on it. After that, Harpy goes to the cell to invite the princess to a pajama party, and although she doesn't seem excited about it, bribing her with some cheerful and pleasant sleep does the trick. So now the princess' new quest is to attend the party. Meanwhile, Twilight goes to aid the hero on taking another path to avoid problems, and Donner just listens to him without complaint. So after a long day of work, the king is ready for a good night of sleep, but the princess enters his chambers asking for help with the party, as she thinks to treat it like a royalty event. He explains to her that people in pajama parties often talk about love and that kind of topics, but she has no knowledge in that field, so she asks for him to tell her his experiences. The topic seems to get his way too nervous, and he tries to change it, asking if someone caught her eye in the time she's been living in the castle, which makes the girl ask if he thinks that love between humans and demons is ok. Right at that moment, the clerk, who came to bring the king some files, enters the room hearing the girl's question. He's ready to hex his king to as demons and humans' love is forbidden, and although Twilight tries to explain himself, it only makes it worse. In the end, the noise of their fight makes Sia, who had fallen asleep thinking that pajama parties were a wondrous way of sleeping, leave, so she ends up telling Harpy that she won't attend the party, abandoning her quest. Sometime later, a lousy succubus called QB that needs popularity to survive is struggling to get it, being ignored by most of the demons in the castle, when she comes across a ghost shroud that mistakes her for the princess. This accident brings her some realization, as she might become popular if she starts behaving like the hostage princess who seems to be popular with every demon. So to make her plan work, she asks to give the food to the princess, and once there, she tells her she's there to become like her, which makes Sia understand that something bad is about to happen and she needs to raise a double body, so she accepts. Although QB is happy at first, the princess quickly takes her in all of her unhinged adventures, leaving the succubus exhausted. After some hours of running around, the princess has her last lesson, which is to lose the fear of. That's why they stop at the lava section of Tech Castle. However, the girl is too afraid, and in the middle of the struggle, the princess falls into the lava, but she's happy to have raised such a perfect clone. After she's brought back by the clerk, she can't get enough of the poor succubus and follows her around the castle all the time. Some days later, another meeting for the reconstruction of a new area is taking place when Teb Princess interrupts, as she has been having a terrible sleep lately and wants them all to help her find the reason. Before they can tell her to leave, she falls asleep and seems to start having a nightmare, so they resolve to bring Hypnos to help. He uses his magic to pick in her dreams, and everyone can see it. They seek her with a blanket in her normal self, but soon the hero comes running to her, and before Teddy can ask Hypnos, he's already asleep. However, the clerk knows what he's doing there and how did they meet, but every time he wants to tell them, he's interrupted. They all see the girl being rather cruel to him, but also see him being reckless and hurting her accidentally. In the end, they finally connect the dots and realize that the princess fiancé is the hero, but they still have the problem to know how did he get into her dreams. They yank Hypnos awake, and he explains that he's capable of doing so with the dream travel slip on his belt, as the item allows the person to enter the dreams of the person who signs it. Upon seeing closer, they realize it's one of the jinning demon drawing the girl made, and Twilight realizes that it could have fallen for his clothes when he visited the hero. So Tai resolved to retrieve it and to give some cake to the poor girl that they've inconvenienced. Christmas is around the corner and the princess knows it, so she decides to write a letter for Santa. The demons see her and warns Twilight, although at first he refuses to give her any present. After considering what she might do to get it, they decide to just read the letter and get her what she wants. However, the content of the letter is worthy of a meeting, as the princess wants to go home. Before any further discussion can happen, she stomps in the room looking for her letter. All the demons are waiting for the king to face her directly, but he ends up trying to change the subject, so Elrond ends up asking her. It turns out that she wants some special Christmas woolen undies that she left in her room. Although at first everyone refuses, the cleric accepts to because it looks important to her, and besides, it'd be troublesome if she goes on her own looking for them, so Twilight has no other choice but to accept. They enter the castle at night, and although they should be fast, the cleric and Sia keep getting distracted with the Giver's things. She starts looking in her bed and ends up falling asleep, but with the struggle the two demons are making in the room. The queen enters the room hoping to see her daughter in the bed. Yet she only finds Kubi, who she mistakes for Sia, as the cleric switched them and hid with the real princess in the wardrobe. The queen takes the succubus, and now the demon team needs a new way to get away with it, because if she is here, she cannot be brought back. So excited by a new mission, the princess gets dolled up and they starts wandering around the castle. They come across a paladin and the demons hide, but the princess doesn't take it as seriously, as everyone there seems to be clueless. When the man leaves, they keep on their journey and they encounter Evening Star, the leader of the paladins. When the man starts walking in their direction, they try to get a fast hideout and end up all in one of the armors, but luckily are mistaken by Morgan, one of the paladins. Evening asks him to help with the search of the intruders, as they felt a shift in the barrier earlier. As the man talking walks in front of them, they try to slip off, but when he, considering that what his soldier needs is more familiarity with the princess, decides to tell him stories of her, both demons stop, ashamed to even accept that they want to listen. At that moment, Sia wakes up due to a bad feeling, but none of them stopped the man for saying that she was obsessed with a magical girls show and bragged about it, or that she was obsessed with tying cherry stems in a knot with her tongue because of a soap opera that said that if you could, you'd be a good kisser. So she went to ask everyone what did that mean, but he was the only one who answered her. Yet the hero came running to say that she could never because she has a short tongue, which gave her the complex with her mouth. In between stories, Sia is trying to escape the armor to make the man shut or run away, but both demons keep stopping her. Although from the outside it looks like the soldier is just dancing. In the end, she can't handle it anymore and runs away, exposing the demons who are now being pursued by the man. Although the girl tells them that it's up because he can't work on daylight, and when the sun starts rising, he falls asleep. They finally make it back to the princess room, but an announcement says that they'll celebrate the princess come back and they need to make a plan to get Kubi and run away. The princess tells them that she'll take responsibility, although it's more because she's sleep-deprived and wants to sleep than anything. The announcement is being broadcasted all along, and the demons in the castle, who were already worried, are watching in disbelief. However the case, they reach the balcony and the two demons stop with magic all the guards while Sia starts talking in the place of the poor Kubi, who's frozen. She explains to her people that the time that she was away showed her how important her duty was, so she now understands better how important it is to live among her people. Hula is getting worried, but the girl fabricates a poor mask and fakes to be him again, abducting Kyubi and telling the demons to bring them back. As they are in the sky, the hero arrives and the queen looks at her masked daughter, giving her a thumbs up for having fun. Back at home, the castle celebrates its Christmas party and everyone is happy, until someone asks if they got the item and the two demons realize that they never got it, ruining the mood. However, Sia was calmly in her cell dressing all of the teddies in her special Christmas wool and undies.